Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and our guests. This meeting of online presenters has begun. Now, guests, please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a current or former Toastmasters member and have completed at least 6 official speeches, or alternately, if you have substantial relevant presentation experience, you may apply for membership after demonstrating your abilities in a 2 to 3 minute speech during one of our club meetings. Our requests for membership are subject to approval from the members of the club. If you've not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it shows your name and role, if you have one. Right-click and select Rename to do so. We have members and guests from many countries throughout the world. Thus, as a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of the language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note, the meeting is being recorded. Your video and audio contribution may be used for club marketing purposes. Also, remain muted when you're not speaking. We don't want to disturb our members and our guests as they present. Today, there's a special request being put out that he does not do table topics. Why? Because he is the District 69 winner of table topics, and I hope I got that one right. And as such, us, the mere online presenters, need a fighting chance at vote counting. But for now, with the excuse he's Toastmaster of the day, please help me welcome our Vice President of Education, who is sitting in for our President. Please help me welcome Sam Khan.
Yay, thank you, Johnny. Thank you for that marvelous Sergeant at Arms response and stuff. Yay, everybody. Thank you for coming along. Not as many people as we could have, given that we have 27 members, but hey, look, we have 12, and that's more than the Brady Bunch had. They only had 9, and one of those was a ringing because she was the maid in the middle, although we have 2 maids. Never mind. Okay. Welcome to today's meeting. The word of the day is commemoration. If you can use commemoration, we'll get to that a little later. But the theme for the meeting is national holidays. Now, yesterday, for most of you, the day before for those of us on the other side of the international dateline, was St. Patrick's Day, Ireland's national holiday. But the thing about St. Patrick's Day is my understanding is that St. Patrick's Day is celebrated much more outside of Ireland than it is in Ireland, because it's part of the celebrations that the diaspora has taken with it. I think the same happens with many national holidays. They're celebrated more by expats than they are by those living in their own country. So that says something about all of us, how we want to take our traditions with us. We are quite happy living where we are living if we move out of our home, but we want to remember that which became a part of us at our mammy's knee, as it were. So I'd like you to think about that during today's meeting. Think about national holidays, holidays that you might celebrate that have come from somewhere else, or that bring you a warm and fuzzy glow when you are overseas or out of your comfort zone, bringing those childhood memories with you. So that's the theme, national holidays. That's where we're going. Now, as Toastmaster, I have a whole lot of people who are helping me do things. I'm not going to do the whole thing myself. For example, we have, what have we got? We have a tip of the day coming up. We have a timer, Andrei Smolenko. And Andrei, can you show us how the lights are going to work? We know the timing, but just show us how they're going to work for us.
Yes, certainly. When the speaker reaches the appropriate time and when they can stop speaking if they want to, they will see the green light on my screen. And next, when they reach the time is about to wrap up, they can see the yellow. And when they should really wrap up big time, it's red. They will have 30 seconds after red lights, and then the disqualification may take place. Back to you, Graham.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, Andre. Now, as mentioned, the word of the day, which the grammarian will be looking out for, is commemoration. The action or fact of commemorating a dead person or a past event, a ceremony or celebration in which a person or event is to be remembered. So that's commemoration. Please try to use commemoration during the evening, and our grammarian will be watching for that. An example is local martyrs received public commemoration. Well, they did after they died, because they couldn't do that before they became martyrs. I'm reminded that there are, in fact, two cemeteries within about 3 kilometres of me, one in area code 4122 and area code 4121. There are two cemeteries, and they're a bit like rivals, and people who live in 4122 cannot be buried in the 4121 cemetery, and the people who live in 4121 cannot be buried in the 4122. You know why? Because you've got to die first. Sorry, dad jokes. Done. All right, let's move on, shall we? We have the word of the day. We have member inductions now, and I am always really pleased to see member inductions. To conduct a member induction tonight, will you please make welcome our Vice President of Membership, Kim Leeming.
Thank you, Graham. So I am pleased, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, on behalf of Online Presenters Toastmasters, it is my duty and privilege to induct Sherry Blake into our club. This is an important occasion for both Sherry and for our club, Online Presenters. As experienced speakers and Toastmasters, this individual will enrich us as we strive to enrich her in a spirit of sharing and enjoyment. Together, we expand our effectiveness as dynamic leaders, presenters, and communicators. Sherry, please wait until I call on you to affirm your confirmation to the Toastmasters promise. So new member induction. Sorry, I should have done that already. And then here we go. In the presence of fellow online presenters, do you pledge to attend meetings regularly and prepare for each assignment, to actively participate in club activities, to elevate others in a positive, constructive manner, to build open, friendly relationships with fellow online presenters, and to bring other new members into the club so that they can gain the benefits of Toastmasters? Sherry, please unmute and say, I do.
I do.
To the current members of Online Presenters, I remind you of your pledge to support Sherry in her quest for self-development, to provide her with positive, helpful evaluations, to maintain a friendly, supportive atmosphere, and to make her Online Presenters Toastmasters membership a rewarding and fulfilling experience. Congratulations, Sherry, and welcome to Online Presenters. Attendees, please unmute and give Sherry a big round of applause.
Welcome, Sherry.
Welcome, Sherry.
One of us, one of us, one of us, one of us.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome, Sherry. And I now hand it back to our Toastmaster of the day, Graham Cairns.
Thank you very much, Kim, and sincerely welcome, Sherry. We know you are going to be a genuinely valuable part of this club. We look to help you grow, and we look to learn from you. So thank you for joining us. Our next role is, in fact, Sherry. Sherry, you're going to be our R counter. What are you going to be doing?
Hi, thank you so much. Well, I'm going to be tracking your filler words, your crutch words throughout the meeting. Crutch words such as well, so on and so forth. And I'll give a report at the end of the meeting.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Now, all the other roles, we know what they do in this club. We don't have any guests here, so we don't need to explain that the Watcher is an unusual role for this club, that we really want to make life easy as possible for the chat monitor, Dr. Sunny, because she's up to her eyeballs in marking. So not too much going into the chat, and not chatting during people's speeches, because that's a bit rude. Save your chat for when they're not presenting, unless they specifically ask you to. But anyway, we'll go through all of the roles when we get to them. Something that is unique to this club and something that I am really, really pleased to see that we are recording and making available as separate vignettes is the tip of the day. Now, the tip of the day is a tip about tech, technique, or leadership. And it's entirely up to the tip of the day presenter what that tech is going to be. That tip is going to be, it's about 3 to 5 minutes, although that's a little flexible. Let's find out what today's tip of the day is as I present today's tipster. Here she is, Carolina Ramirez.
Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters, or maybe good morning. One of the most effective ways to lead a team is by empowering them through trust. Trust is the foundation of any successful relationship, including those in the workplace. When team members feel trusted, they are more likely to be engaged, motivated, and committed to achieving common goals. Here's how you can implement this in your leadership approach. The first tip, delegate responsibility. Trust your team members with responsibilities that align with their skills and expertise. Delegating tasks shows that you have confidence in their abilities and allows them to take ownership of their work. The second tip, provide autonomy. Give your team members the autonomy to make decisions and solve problems on their own. Avoid micromanaging and instead provide guidance and support when needed. This autonomy fosters a sense of empowerment and encourages creativity and innovation. Encourage open communication. Foster an environment of open communication where team members feel comfortable sharing their ideas, concerns, and feedback. Actively listen to their input and incorporate their perspectives into decision-making processes. This demonstrates that you value their contributions and trust their judgment. Acknowledge and appreciate. Recognize and appreciate the efforts and achievements of your team members. Acknowledge their contributions publicly and provide constructive feedback to help them grow. Celebrating successes reinforces trust and motivates team members to continue performing at their best. Lead by example. As a leader, demonstrate trustworthiness in your actions and decisions. Be transparent, reliable, and accountable for your own responsibilities. Lead by example to set the standard for trust within the team. And the last, provide support. Offer support and resources to help your team members succeed in their roles, whether it's additional training, mentorship, or access to tools and information. Demonstrate your commitment to their growth and development. By empowering your team through trust, you create a positive and productive work environment where individuals feel valued, motivated, and empowered to achieve collective success. This fosters a culture of collaboration, innovation, and high performance. And this was the tip of the day. Mr. Toastmaster, back to you.
Thank you, Carolina. And thank you for that look on empowerment through trust. Empowerment is, as you say, important. Trust is important. I thank you for your tip of the day. As always, Carolina's tips allow us to take something away from this meeting into the rest of our lives, into our work lives, into our personal lives, and develop. But I guess that's what engineers do. They build things that the rest of us can use. So well done, and I thank you for that. The question from Andre, when can I chat in the chat? Yes, you can chat whenever you like, but try not to actually interrupt while a formal presentation is underway. So during, for example, Kirthikka's speech, unless Kirthikka asks you to put something in the chat, don't put it in there because it does distract and people look over to that rather than taking note of what Kirthikka is saying. Now, if Kirthikka is doing the interrupt your speech one, you know, that project, the project which we all love so much, don't we? You know, where people interrupt you, then it would be perfectly fine. Okay. Talking of Kirthikka, it is time now for us to move to our formal speaking part of the meeting. And our only scheduled speaker today, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. No, don't need to shut up when I'm talking, because I just keep talking no matter what. Our only scheduled speaker for today is Kirthikka, and Kirthikka is speaking from the Strategic Relationships path, which is, this is her latest path, and I'm glad to see she's diving straight in. This is from level 1. The Mastering Fundamentals. For those who aren't familiar with the way that the Pathways projects work, of course, you have level 1 is Mastering Fundamentals. Level 2 is where you develop further skills. Level 3 is increasing your knowledge. Level 4 is building on those skills. And level 5 is demonstrating expertise. In level 1, since I think February last year, there has been a relatively new introduction, and that is the introduction to vocal variety and body language, with an emphasis today on vocal variety. So she will be evaluated by Joni Laidlaw. Joni, you're ready to rock and roll with this evaluation? I can see a nodding of the head and a thumbs up. That's excellent. So with her speech entitled From Struggle to Freedom, with lights at 5, 6, and 7, please, Mr. Timekeeper. Please welcome Kirthikka Venkataram with From Struggle to Freedom, depicting nature-inspired story and its learning, emphasizing the storytelling style with modulation. From Struggle to Freedom, Kirthikka.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction, Graham. This is a nature-inspired story, From Struggle to Freedom. There was a beautiful, charming girl called Reha. She had a beautiful garden and a tall tree near her home. She used to pass the garden and the tree daily, watching the blooming flowers in her garden. One day, she saw a brown oval structure hanging from the branch of the tree. She was a little curious to know about it. Surprised to see it, she went near to it and observed keenly. To her surprise, it was a bee honeycomb, the beehive. There were a lot of bees buzzing around here and there, collecting honey from the nearby garden. Being curious and intuitive, she moved straight away to the bees and asked one of the bees, "Are you not tired of working hard? How do you safeguard yourself from predators?" The worker bee quickly went inside the beehive and called its queen bee. The queen bee met the girl outside the honeycomb. The queen bee wasn't astonished by this girl's questions. The queen bee answered, "It's the environment that gives us the power to do such remarkable things. The trust and confidence that we build over a period of time gives us the strength to achieve success. This is not any instruction. These are learned over a period of time, struggling to know each other and working together." The answer from the queen bee was quite puzzling Reha. Modern world is like that. We are surrounded by things that frustrates us, that doesn't provide us opportunity to grow, that makes us and pull you down all the time. But the only variable thing is the environment. It might be your home, your organization, the place where you engage in, or your surrounding as well. It's the responsibility of yourself to build trust and confidence and build a safe environment for yourself. Here comes the leader. It's because of the leader who sets the tone. It's because of the leader, because of whom you are getting the prize and parent. Yes, Days were passing on. The honeycomb, the beehive, vanished. The garden was approaching spring slowly. Reha was watching the garden keenly. One day, she saw a cocoon hanging in the same branch of the tree. Fascinated to see a butterfly soon from the cocoon, she was waiting and watching the cocoon on a daily basis. To her surprise, one day she saw the butterfly is struggling hard to come out of the cocoon. She quickly went inside her home, got a scissor, and cut a part of the cocoon in its corner. The butterfly, without having any struggle, emerged out. Reha was happy to see the butterfly emerging out. She was expecting the butterfly to fly at once, but it did not happen. The butterfly fell down on the ground and it was struggling to fly. Reha noticed the body of the butterfly was swollen and it had a shrilling small wings. Reha waited and waited to see the butterfly to fly, though it did not happen at all. Reha figured out at last, it's because the butterfly could not, it's because of the fact she cut the cocoon at the corner, the butterfly could not fly. The body fluid that is present inside the butterfly is pushed all over the wings of the butterfly to make it fly and grow. This is the law of nature, and the cocoon gives the struggle to the butterfly. Thus, unknowingly, Reha made the butterfly not to be able to fly throughout its lifetime. Life is like that. You have to endure the struggle to get the power and strength. Struggle is exactly what we need to undergo to get the strength and what we need to grow. Thus, this is the nature-inspired story that captivated me. What about yours? Over to you, Toastmaster Graham.
Thank you, Kirthikka. Thank you very much for that story and for those two stories, which I think are interrelated and I think are an important story that we need to learn. So I'm not going to say any more because that's up to the role of the evaluator, but thank you. Now, as mentioned, Kirthikka was our only scheduled speaker for today. I'm going to ask your indulgence here. I mentioned earlier that I am going to be competing in the divisional humorous speech contest this weekend. Now, the speech that I'm going to be delivering, some of you have seen before, some of you have not. You may not remember it if you do. We do have a little bit of time to spare. So, can I get a show of hands? Those of you who would allow me the opportunity to present this speech to you today and get general feedback from you, say yes. Or those of us who want to go straight on to table topics and gym, say yes now. No, looks like it's B. All right. Thank you very much. In that case, I will give you this speech. I'm sorry if you've seen it before, but life's tough and then you die. It's a 5 to 7 minute speech. It is a humorous speech, and the title of the speech has changed. It is now On-Air Adventures. So, with On-Air Adventures, again, 5 to 7 minutes, please, Mr. Timekeeper. With On-Air Adventures, Graham Cairns. It was 46 years ago, last December, that I got my first job in radio at 4LG Longreach. Now, I know that's hard to believe. I mean, I'm this magnificent specimen of manhood couldn't be 46 years old, let alone work in radio for nearly half a century, but it's true. I started at 4LG Longreach. Longreach is a small outback town. It's not the end of the world, but you can see it from there. And they gave me my first job. Things have changed quite a bit in those 46 years. We used to play music off big black spinny things called records. You may remember them. All of the commercials were played off cassette, and the introductions of songs were done live to a microphone. That's changed these days. The music, the commercials, even the voice tracks are all on computer. But while things change, some things remain the same. And one of those things is that the new kid always gets the job that nobody else wants. In my case, it was a program called Ranch Club, 2 hours of country and Western request music. Now, I knew nothing about country music at this stage, let alone about the subgenre of country music called country and Western, but nobody else wanted it, so I got the gig. And the first songs I ever got played on air, and I remember them to this day, were the Singing Kettles version of Airmail to Heaven. Oh, Daddy, I hope you'll forgive her. I'm sending this letter with love. I'm sending it airmail to heaven, to your new home up above. Oh, it was dog's vomit. And that was followed by an Australian country artist, Slim Dusty, with the biggest disappointment in the family was me. And I know how he felt. And Johnny Chester, who had this ribald little ditty, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, lonely women make good lovers. The fact that I can remember those 3 songs 46 years later tells you how deeply traumatized I was. But, as I say, they gave me my first job, and they put me in the shift that nobody else wanted, which has not changed. Something else that hasn't changed in all the years since I started in radio are funeral announcements. You see, in small country towns which have no daily newspaper, they may only publish once a week, they may not have a newspaper at all, people can die and be buried before their friends even know about it. And so that's where the local radio station steps in. And every morning at the same time, there will be the funeral announcements, which go something like, "We now pause to offer our condolences and deepest sympathy before reading the following funeral announcement." And then you'd play this really maudlin organ music. "The relatives and friends of the late Fred Nurk are respectfully invited to attend his funeral, which will leave St. Zacchaeus the Tax Collector Church in Eagle Street, Longreach, for interment in the Longreach Cemetery at 2 p.m. this afternoon." And then you would fade down that organ music at the end of it. Problem is, after you've played the funeral announcement, nobody's going to want their product advertised next to dead people, and so you've got to go to music. And here's where I've heard some particularly inappropriate songs played. After funeral announcements, things like, "Wah, wah, 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 staying alive," or "Heaven must be missing an angel," or best of all, "I fell into a burning ring of fire." Well, I got to say, I never actually made that mistake. I came close. I came perilously close one day. I had just been reading a funeral announcement for this particularly crabby old biddy, you know, the sort of woman where people turn up to their funeral just to make sure that she is actually gone. And I just read her funeral announcement and the music had faded and I was about to go to a song when I realized that I was about to play "Ding Dong, the witch is dead, witch old witch, the wicked witch, ding dong, the wicked witch is dead." Let's just say they got a longer than normal respectful pause that day as I frantically queued up something on the other turntable. But, as I say, I dodged that bullet. Doesn't mean I didn't make mistakes. One of the problems of being a young bloke in their first job away from home is that preparation's not high on the list of things. So sometimes I'd go to the shift at night, for example, forgetting to take any dinner. I mean, it wasn't a real problem because the Boomerang Cafe was only 3 doors down from our radio station. You'd put on a long record and go and grab a burger and come back and eat it. Well, that's all right if nothing goes wrong. But one night I put on the 11-minute, 43-second version of Creedence Clearwater Revival's "Heard It Through the Grapevine." And I went down to the Boomerang Cafe and I grabbed my burger and I came back and I walked into the studio only to discover, now remember, we're playing music off those big black spinny things, records, which get scratched. And this one had hit a scratch. And so for 4.5 minutes, all the audience had heard when I walked into the studio was "Heard it through the, heard 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 it through the." Embarrassing. But not as embarrassing as this one last story that I'll tell you from my early days at 4LG Longreach, colour radio. I was sitting there getting ready to read the news at 7:30 in the morning, the busiest time for a radio station. The DJ on the other side of the desk tries to introduce a song, and he just completely and utterly messed it up. It was a dog's breakfast. And he threw his headphones off, looked across the desk at me and said, "Jesus Christ, I blew that one up, didn't I?" Well, I just pointed over his shoulder at the on-air light. He looked at the light, looked back at me, went, "Ah, bleep," and then turned the microphone off. I say this not to embarrass him, but to tell you that we didn't get a single complaint. We didn't get a phone call. We didn't get a letter. We didn't get an email. Well, I mean, there were no emails. We're talking 40 odd years ago. We got nothing at all. Didn't even get a telex, which means either nobody was listening, which at 7:30 in the morning seems unlikely, or people were just so used to that sort of thing going on that they said, "Hey, it's 4LG. What do you expect?" And that's a pretty depressing thought, I have to say. But there is something I want you to take away from this. I got the jobs that nobody else wanted. And yet I took those jobs and I turned them into a career of nearly 50 years, of which I am inordinately proud and which I'd like to think I was entertaining. You in your career may not be in the position where you get those sort of gigs anymore, but you've got family, you've got friends, you've got children who will. If nothing else, ladies and gentlemen, tell them when they get those jobs that nobody else wants. Tell them to grab those jobs with both hands and do the absolute best that they can, because if they do, the world can be their oyster. Mr. Contest Toastmaster. Yay. So, there we finish. I will ask for a roundtable discussion of suggestions that you might like to make a little later, things that you think worked well, things that you think I should drop. Bear in mind, I've only got 3 days to make the changes, so, it's not going to be too much I do about it, but please, that'll be coming up a little later. But now, we've had the formal presentation part of the meeting. Now we come to my favourite, 6 minutes 11. Thank you very much. And Kirthikka 6:18. Good. We don't need to vote on Best Speaker today because there was only one prepared speaker. So Kirthikka wins the Best Speaker award. Yay, Kirthikka! What you will have to vote on is the Best Table Topic. And to present the Table Topic session, please welcome Jim Baba.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, and my fellow Toastmasters. Let's do table topics. The theme for tonight's table topics is basically there is no theme. I just came up with some different questions that I thought were kind of interesting, and I think maybe people will have some fun with. I would remind everybody that timing for table topics is 1 to 2 minutes. Please try to stay within those time frames, and you will make our timer very happy. And let's see, I'm going to do. In the spirit of our word of the day, commemoration, most countries have commemorative stamps in which they post a person or an event of great significance. What commemorative stamp would you, if you could order one to be done up, what commemorative stamp would you order that does not have you on it? It's got to be commemorating somebody else. And let's go with our newest member, Sherry.
Oh, wow, great. Thank you so much for that question. I am into and often purchase stamps that have an African-American person on them who may have made their mark in this country. And so I've purchased quite a few stamps. I actually go to the post office often to ask for that type of stamp. Therefore, a stamp that I would like to see, and who knows, maybe it's in the works, is a stamp with our former president, Barack Obama. That would be a stamp that I would buy, and probably a stamp that I would never use. I would, and stamps these days, at least in the US, they're forever stamps. So you can use them today, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. But I would purchase and love to see a stamp with our former president, Barack Obama. That would be something that I can or would commemorate. Thank you so much. And back to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much, Sherry. Great answer. Appreciate that. All right, let's stick with that same general theme. I asked Sherry to describe a commemorative stamp that was not about her. But let's do the mirror image of that. Design or suggest a commemorative stamp that is about you. What event in your life would you have the commemorative stamp commemorating? And let's go with the great Blondini, Kim. Kim?
She may have had to step away since she has her image up.
Ah, okay. Then in that case, you escaped. But let's stick with the same question. What event in your life would you like to have commemorated on a commemorative stamp? And let's go with our vote counter, Carolina.
Thank you, Jim. Oof, this is a very difficult question because I was thinking when you were asking, and two events came to my mind. The first one is the day I received my engineering degree, minor engineering degree. It was a great day. And that day, I didn't think that it was going to be so important as it was. Because with the pass of time, I have realized that that event of my life marked my path and what I was going to do for the rest of my life, maybe. And I say maybe because I'm not sure how is going to be my life in the future. But I think that was a very important event, and I would like to have an stamp of that. And the second event, but maybe it was very egocentric, my birth. I'm not used to celebrate my birth because I prefer to be, no, correction. I like to celebrate my birth, but I don't like to invite people to my home because I don't like to go to the supermarket and do the chores and then clean the house. But I like to celebrate with a massage, with a trip to the beach and things like that. A real celebration, not work, just to celebrate myself. And if I had to choose, maybe I would say the day I got my degree. That's it. 2 events. Back to you, Jim. Thank you for your question.
Thank you for your answer, Carolina. And I hope sometime that we see both of those stamps for sale at the post office. That would be cool. All right. Sticking with that same general theme of events, but let's move away from stamps. I enjoy the concept of time travel, Doctor Who or Star Trek episodes that deal with time travel or something like that. I enjoy those. So suppose you had the opportunity to travel back in time to any particular event, but it's got to be in the past. What event would you travel back in time to participate in, say, a 2-week vacation at this past event? And let's go with Joni.
there is way too much for me to commemorate to actually choose just one. The problem with table topics is having to decide on one specific moment in time. And the choices, some might be tragic, some might be for some happy memories, to be able to live it again. While some might just be if I got the second chance to do it over again, I'd probably do it anyway because it was not fun, could have been fun, but was a learning experience. And at least you can't say you don't like something if you haven't lived through it, right? And basically, that's why I can't choose one specific thing or one commemoration that I'd pick over another. Remembering I felt like Superwoman when my son was born and I could rebuild that hospital in a second. But motherhood is not the entirety of everything I am. For those who don't know, I was a party girl and I had my party girl era. At this age, considering my knees, my back, my feet, and sometimes, you know, that part right at the lower part where your brain matches you, reminds you that you are not 20 anymore, even though you try to pretend you look 30. I don't know. But that's why there isn't one that I'd like to commemorate or one I'd like to relive. Because there are many different things I'd like to do again or to remember the memory of for the joy, for the emotion, for the feelings. Because sometimes monotony just gets really, well, dull. And that's why we get the chance to have commemorative stamps. See how many S's are there? So if I had to pick one, I wouldn't be able to. But I can say some of them are for good, some of them are for bad. But either way, the fun part was remembering the feelings. Back to you, our table topics master.
Thank you, Joni. All right. I asked Joni to describe an event in the past that she would like to visit. Same sort of question, but it's not an event in the past, but rather a fictional event, something that did not really occur, but you have experienced in a book or a movie or a play, something like that. If you could, through some magic, experience that event as though it were real, what fictional event would you like to be a part of? And let's go with our next newest member, Teresa.
I am a huge, huge fan of Hamilton. And I think that that moment in time is incredible to have the audacity to create a new country, to create a new government, to create a new monetary system, and to be around people that dreamed so daring and so innovative. I think that, and also to be at a time where people were questioning themselves. Like Benjamin Franklin was loyal to England for a very long time, but then he changed sides, right? And he believed in the cause that we were creating this country. It was a giant experiment. And even after we fought the war, they didn't know if it was going to work or not. And so I love the idea of people having the tenacity to stay with the dream, to keep going, and to try and figure out how we are going to put this thing together in a way that's going to benefit the most people, and how we can use our diplomacy to be able to bring new ideas to life. And also identifying our best people and sending them abroad in order to get support from countries that, just years later, they would be having their own crisis. So I think that this moment in time about the players and the people, and, even thinking about Hamilton, he was an immigrant. He had no skin in the game originally, right? He was just like, I'm going to be a part of this thing and I'm going to give it all I got. And I love being around people who want to give it all they got and who dare to dream and to dare to bulk, to fight convention and to think about how things could actually be better and to have skin in the game. Jim, I'll turn it back to you. Thank you so much for the question.
Thank you, Teresa, for giving it all you got. All right. Mr. Toastmaster, how are we doing on time? I don't know how much you want to allocate for round robin.
You can have another couple.
All righty, we'll do that then. Let's see. Doing the distant past thing again, but not as an event. It's the people sometimes that are the most interesting thing. If you could have lunch or dinner or breakfast, whatever, if you could have a nice, pleasant meal with anyone from the distant past, who would it be? And this is the time, since she's shown back up again, let's go with the great Blondini.
Thank you for the question, Jim. Well, since you called me Blondini, you know I'm going to have to go with magic. So I am going to go with my name predecessor, which is Houdini. And I would love to ask Houdini, how did you come up with this whole escape thing? How did you do all this? And what really happened to you? Because there is so much mystery shrouded with the way he actually led to his demise. And so I would want to know all of this, and mainly, why magic? I love magic. I think it's the best thing ever. Why, Houdini, did you decide to go into magic? And why are you haunting everyone since your demise? Because if you go to the Magic Castle, which I have many times, they will do a seance where Houdini comes in and does his magic. And so, dude, what is up with that? I would love to know all these things. And like, what is your favorite magic trick ever? Because he has done so many, mainly escapes, but I'd love to know what your magic trick is. I mean, your favorite one is. And I think just magic in general, my favorite subject. So back to you, Table Topics Master. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, GB. That's great Blondini initials for. All right. Dr. Sunny, you indicated that you really were not partial to participating here tonight, so I'm going to let your participation in table topics be optional. Would you like a table topics question, or would you like to pass?
Yes.
Yes, what?
I would like a table topic question.
Oh, okay. All righty then. Let's do a relatively straightforward one, because I know that you're kind of wired out on exams and everything. People enjoy holidays. What existing national holiday do you like so much that you would like to extend it to an entire week? Sunny?
It was Mark Twain who said, the two most important days of your life are the day you are born and the day you discover why. And while a birthday is not a national holiday, it should be, in my opinion, because I love my birthdays, and I'll tell you why. Over the past few years, I've gotten the opportunity to spend my birthdays with my sister and my niece. My sister, who is a couple of years younger than me, who had a stroke a few years ago. Actually, it was 2018. And it's just amazing for me to be in her life. She has so much joy and she lives life to the fullest. And every year we've gone from, for me, it's a great trip. To this year, it was Barbados last month. My birthday is in February, day after Valentine's Day. Last year, it was Punta Cana. The year before, it was Jamaica. A couple of years before that, Nassau. And it goes on. And it's not so much the places, but it is enjoyable. But it's been said that you can always make more money, but you can't always make more memories. And I realize at the age I am now, I only get to see her maybe twice a year. I may only see her 20 more times. And so to be able to have a great memory wherever we are is just wonderful for me. So if I could have it as a national holiday and extend it maybe into a week, it would be the birthday, which we've already done, actually, because whenever we go somewhere, it's at least 5 days, so we get to celebrate. So I would say it would be a birthday, celebrating your birthday. And I would encourage each of us to remember that it's really fun to celebrate your birthday. And if you find out why you are here, all the better. And happy birthday when it comes your day. Back to you.
Thank you, Sunny. And I will note for the record, and so it is recorded on the video for the entire world to catch, that Sunny said that her birthday is February the 15th. It is past this year, but perhaps in 2025, we can do something special, especially if it happens to fall on a Monday/Tuesday, where we could have it as a meeting. But anyway, happy birthday, Sunny. And happy birthday to everybody whenever your birthday happens to show up. Mr. Toastmaster, I think we should probably return back to other things, so will return control to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for a fabulous table topic session. And I'm not going to talk too much about that. That's the role of Robert. Zip. That's the role of the general evaluator to comment on the table topics master. But I thought they were some terrific questions. And I got to say, I wanted to answer every one of those, but I wouldn't have answered as well as any of them. So congratulations to all of the participants. Time now to move on to the general evaluators session of the meeting. And the first of these, anyway, I will leave Andrew to conduct the general evaluation session, including the formal evaluation by Jenny Renee Laidlaw and also the informal evaluation, but I'll let him decide how to do that. It's all his job. It's his now. Here he is, Andrew Byrne.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the Day. I am your general evaluator for today. The section that I'm in control of is the section that provides insights and feedback to everybody that had a role in the meeting, particularly the speakers and evaluators. Excuse me. Today's speaker was Kirthikka, Devi, I'm going to mess up your last name, Venkataram, but close. She was our speaker today, and we have an evaluator. The number one evaluator for her is Joni Laidlaw. So at this point in time, I'm going to invite Joni up to the stage and to share with everyone her thoughts on the performance of our first speaker. Go ahead, Joni.
Everyone today, but especially Toastmaster Kirthikka. When we speak, it's about connection, especially when, like in your case, we're sharing our life lessons. Normally, you have an accent, and sometimes I can say, because it's been said to me, because I have an accent too, that you can get lost listening. But that's the beauty of vocal variety. And today you used your pacing so well that I did not miss a phrase, a beat, or a turn of a sentence that you made. And with how insightful your speech actually was, I genuinely appreciated that fact. How can you make this speech better? Now, the emphasis was on vocal variety, but gestures help. So when you went up to talk about sitting down and seeing it, when you're fearful or you're happy, it helps to add those gestures because they enhance what you say. Because the focus was vocal variety, however, I will craft my suggestions towards just that. When your protagonist went to meet the queen and she talked about the commemoration, I heard your voice. She didn't buzz. You see, you had the ability when referencing her life lesson to be able to actually utilize her phrases or what she would be saying, well, as a bee. Say, for example, in the struggles that we have in life, add a change in the way you speak. So I know that, okay, this is the queen, this is who we're speaking about. You also have another opportunity when you were actually discussing the butterfly. Everyone sounded like Kirthikka. That, for me, is sometimes distracting because I find that imitation is the highest form of flattery. What do you think if there was a talking butterfly or a talking bee, it would sound like? I would also suggest that while I heard the fluctuation in your voice as you spoke, when you got fearful, your voice went down, but it didn't come back up. It stayed down. So for the time that you are giving me those life lessons of hope, you are still in that fearful voice, which kept me locked in the emotion of fearfulness. When you got happy, you stayed up at happy and you gave the rest of your speech as happy, but you didn't come back down to when you had to hit that level of sincerity. And that matters whenever you're doing your vocal variety. What I'm going to ask that you do, because you did do a very good job. Like I said, I could hear, I could feel the emotion, but use that vocal variety to hit the specific emotion at the time. I'm so afraid. I'm really happy. It's really sad. You see the difference in the changes. But once you add it and you come out of it, that's also important because, like a heartbeat, that's an emotion. It's going to fluctuate. Come out and get back to regular you. Throw in other people's voices. Keep the pauses, the pacing, and your tone, and just a little bit of movement should be great. Back to you, our general evaluator.
Thank you very much, Joni. We also had a second speaker, and that speaker was Graham Carn. And we are doing what's known as a round robin evaluation. I'd like to see you raise your hand if you want to participate in Graham's evaluation of his award-winning speech. Andre, would you like to provide some feedback?
Yes, Henry, certainly. Well, thank you for this opportunity. Graham, I just love your sense of humor. And that was a humorous speech. I like the stories about the discs, the cassettes that you brought us into your young ages, because I can barely remember them, not speaking about my children. So that was a connection with those things. I really like the structure, clear three stories that led us to the call to action. It's something that I couldn't really pace, whether it was call to action connected to the first, to the second, or only to the third story. I would like to see kind of a line that all those little dots on the line. So the common message would flow from one story and to the other, and then it would be even reinforced in the end. I think bearing that in mind would make your story a bit more fun. At the same time, your sense of humor, it just beams and shines. I just would like to hear that more. Back to you, General Evaluator.
And thank you very much, Andre. Also, we had other individuals that were listening very carefully. Trika, could you tell us a little bit about the speech from your perspective? Please unmute.
Jesus Christ. Bleep. I don't know if that would go over. I think maybe the bleep is the Jesus Christ and what follows. But I really loved hearing about how things happen in a small town radio station. That was just so great. And thinking about the commemorations that happen at the specific time so that people know who died and when the funeral processions are and and I thought that that was really wonderful. And I especially appreciated how you underscored the lessons that some things change but others don't, and gave so many great examples about that, about how the new kid always gets the job that no one wants, and how we have an opportunity to put our own stamp on those moments and make it something really special. And I especially love how you underscored a 50-year career that comes out of that, and how amazing that can be. So thank you so much for sharing your story.
Okay. One thing that I would comment on is this, and it's a small thing. You're permitted to do quotations, but you're supposed to give an attribution. And one of the things that I noticed was in the evaluation, there was a statement about connecting the dots to the three stories. Connecting the dots is part of the famous Steve Jobs Stanford graduation speech, where he talks about three different stories. The last one, of course, ending in his death, and how he was motivated to do things because he knew he was going to die. But the most important part of his story was he says how these things are connected, how the things in your life come about because of how you're connected. And some people, if they were really picky, might say, well, he's using an attribution without saying what it is. So that's one really picky thing that one could have. But overall, I enjoyed it, as always, with Graham. I relate to what Graham's talking about because when I was in college, I too ran the radio station, sort of like in Pitch Perfect, where that student had time on the radio. And I also had a radio show on a weekly basis. So I can relate to what Graham is saying. I didn't stay in radio, but I enjoyed the benefits that radio had from college. One of the biggest benefits for me was that the radio station received every week from all of the manufacturers of the different record companies would get once a week a stack of brand new records from all the artists that they wanted the radio stations to play. And it was wonderful. And once a week, we open up all of the records, bring them back to our dorms. All of our tape decks were set up in serial, and then we taped all of the brand new records. I had probably 200 or 300 albums by the time I left school and college. But that's saying another aside. There are many stories that each of us have gone through, and I certainly enjoyed Graham's stories. The other thing is when we look about vocal variety, the four elements that Toastmasters talks about is the vocal dynamic, and to recognize that your voice is an instrument, to think of your voice as an instrument. And instruments could be played loudly, they can be played softly, they can be played quickly, they can be played not quickly or with time, and pausing. When you think of all of those elements, the timbre, the rate, speed, the pacing, all those things add a dramatic flair to what you're saying. Some last elements. But before we go, we have people that were watching intently everything that was being said. So let me go get their reports. The first report is from Andre on the timer. How did our evaluation sessions go?
Well, thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. The evaluation section went all right. Paul Johnny went for 3 minutes and 48 seconds. Looks like she went a little bit over the time limit. The rest of the evaluators were more or less in time.
Okay, great. And our word of the day is commemoration. And the person watching how we did all of that was grammarian watcher Joni. How do we commemorate this day?
We didn't start off commemorating in the way that I would have liked. And as such, what I decided to do was to note where we missed out. Critical. You missed commemoration when you were stating about the Queen and her speaking about how she learned the life lessons for Sunny. You missed on your reference to your birthday. You should always commemorate or have a commemoration for your birthday. The same thing applied when Carolina was discussing her lack of, but also her commemoration from her graduation. That could also have worked there. And Graham missed the use of commemoration, even though he used it, I think, more than all of us, including myself. But he did have a miss when he was talking in his prepared speech about the highway to, when he was talking about Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead, and we were discussing all of the funeral processions, that was a good place to insert that word. Overall, though, Jim used it, Sherry used it, I used it again. Graham did use it a few times. Kim was prompted but missed it, and I was trying to find where she could put it in, but she had a lot of near misses, but nothing where it could actually have slipped into her overall speech unless she worded it a little bit different. You know, when you commemorated Houdini, they have him when you visit, etc. Overall use of language, and this one I had to state because at the beginning I said, remember we have people from all over the world. Critical when you said blooming flowers. I know what you mean, but that actually has another meaning that I personally find hilarious and some people may find offensive, but blooming flowers I like, but it can have two actual meanings. Overall, though, we had great use of language. I really enjoyed this meeting, and I think it would be a good commemoration of how to use the word of the day. Back to you, our general evaluator.
Thank you. And we had somebody watching carefully at each of us and how we presented ourselves. Our watcher, Kim Learning.
So I have been watching all of you, and I must say, this is one of the best meetings I've seen in a really long time as far as everyone centering, have a wonderful background, and just it's been really, really great. And Kirthikka, your lighting, oh my gosh, it's highlighting your hair so beautifully. And just wonderful placement of yourself in front of your background. Just loved it. Oh, let's go with big, big thumbs up. And Graham, again, very centered. Lovely cartoon in your background. And just, again, thumbs up. And just, oh, sorry about the thing, because I think that's coming up. So I will get another strike. Honestly, just it's been wonderful tonight. I don't remember seeing such a wonderful like framing of everybody in the center, and just great. So back to you. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. We had a counter to listen to how well we put our words together. Sherry, tell us about what you observed and heard.
Absolutely. At first, I thought maybe I wasn't paying attention. I think we did really well. And I wasn't hearing anything in the beginning. And then I started to hear just a few. Dr. Sunny, I think you had an and that I didn't feel was necessary. Teresa, you had, tutu, an and a ah. Kim, you had two ums and a so. And Carolina, your crutch word is and. You used a lot of and ands. So that's your crutch word. So, be careful with that. But that's what I noticed. And you had an but and was your crutch word tonight.
All right. Have we left anybody out? Body language we've taken care of.
Okay.
Sunny, you did body language as well?
I have chat monitor tonight.
Please tell us about what you saw.
What I saw is that what I heard. I believe that everyone got the memo not to be too chatty tonight. However, I found something noteworthy, something encouraging, and something humorous. From Tresa, she asked, Sherry, did you know you can get custom postage stamps made? Since Sherry was talking about having a stamp commemorated of Barack Obama. I think that's amazing. I'm going to definitely look into that. Encouraging. Well, everyone enjoyed Kirthikka's speech. Kim said she enjoyed the analogy. I agreed, and others said the same thing. And in terms of humor, a couple of things with Graham, but the one I did see was someone said, I thought you were going to say you started at 4 as opposed to maybe 40. So that was a little bit humorous. Overall, it was a little bit quiet, but we do always appreciate that Mr. Timer is always, whoever the timer is on the money, because they're always letting us know timing is very important, and they help us know how we did in the chat. Back to you.
All right. I think we've covered all of our people. That true? Not true. I think so. Jim, did you take account of the voting for the table topics, or does Carolina have all of the votes in?
I don't have them.
I have them.
All right, Carolina, tell us who were the big winners for today.
We have one winner for table topics speaker, and she's Sunny Fritz. Congratulations, Sunny.
Wow. All right. Oh, I didn't know I was still. Well, all right.
And we only have one prepared speaker,
Beep.
Kirthikka, and one evaluator, Johnny. Congratulations to them. They are winners as well.
Everybody that participated today is a winner, and thank you all for showing up. Graham is also our VPE, and he would be very grateful if everyone either went to a chat or raise their hand of what they will be doing next week. Who will be the Toastmaster today? Who will be speaking? Who will be doing all the different roles? Graham, I turn it over to you for the 2 minutes that are left and see how many of our roles we can get done for next week. And I'll be happy to contribute a speech.
All right, thank you, Andrew. I'm just taking a look. Is next meeting the one where we're going to have... no, that must be the one after, where we have a guest who's doing a general. So at this stage, we have 3 speakers down, but one of those is Kirthikka, who only spoke today. So I don't know whether she meant to put herself down for next week as well. If not, we can replace Kirthikka with Andrew. That would be good. We don't at this stage have a table topics master, a general evaluator, any evaluators, or for that matter, a Toastmaster of the day. So look, I'm not going to take the rest of the meeting asking for people to fill those roles. What I will ask is go to the website. That's op.toastmasters.org and put yourself down for a role. Tracy, you can't because you're not a member yet, but that's all right. We'll put you down for something anyway. But yeah, please go to the website, put yourself down for a role, and make the Toastmasters job easier. Of course, being Toastmaster is a lot of fun. So make sure that you put yourself down for that role if you haven't done Toastmaster for a while, because it is, as all of us who've done it recently can tell you, a lot of fun, bit challenging, bit more challenging if you forget that you're the Toastmaster until 12 hours before the meeting and then suddenly realize that you don't have anybody in the agenda. But, that's my fault, not yours. Seriously, put yourself down for a role and have fun. Now, in my role as acting president in the absence of the afloat David, who is, I see, according to Facebook, somewhere currently in the Panama Canal, watching ships go by and all that sort of stuff and having a wonderful time, no doubt. Thank you, everybody, for coming along. Thank you, Sherry. It is really good to see you as our newest member. Tracer, I'm really looking forward to having the opportunity to see you get inducted as well. To all of our members who came along, thank you. For everybody who gave me observations about my speech, I will put some of those into play before next week. And for everybody else, thanks for coming along. Hope you had a good meeting, and I'll declare this meeting. Hang on, it's down here. I've got one. I actually have the gavel. I will declare this meeting closed. Yay! And we can stop the recording.
Before you all go, just be aware that being the Toastmaster of the day, you can get credit as operating and organizing and running an online meeting. It's a level 4 project. Be aware of those things that you're already doing that you could be getting credit for if you know about it. And there's a document on Toastmasters which talks about that. I've put it in the chat on a number of occasions.